Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I want to finish talking about Sha'Carri Richardson. We talked about Sha'Carri a little bit earlier, and we were talking about what happened in this race, and we know what happened, right? We know Sha'Carri kind of things didn't go well. Let's just say that she did worse than was expected. But what hasn't been really talked about in media is the financial implication of Sha'Carri's disappointing performance, what this might mean for her in terms of endorsements, and where she is right now in terms of endorsability. You guys may not know all these things I'm about to lay out for you, so I'm going to break this down for you because I think it's a great financial lesson. So get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt. We're going to get started on the Black Financial Channel right now. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Black Financial Channel. It's theblackfinancialchannel.com. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm your friendly neighborhood finance professor. On the Black Financial Channel, we talk about Black wealth and Black economics every single day. We always use the world as a classroom, and I love to talk about economics all the time, but there's one condition. You ain't got to be Black to be here. We don't hate anybody, but you got to be B1. B1 means Black first. That means we care about our community first. That means that we're building for our children first. That means we put ourselves at the top of the priority list. Also, B1 children, our children are going to lead the world when it comes to Black wealth and Black economics within the next 50 years. That is called Project 2070. Lastly, B1 means that we must be one in order to be successful. That means working together, finding common ground, building with your family, and getting along so you can build businesses that our community needs. If you agree with this philosophy, type of hashtag B and the number one in the chat. Hashtag B1 in the chat. That is our calling card. Use that hashtag on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything else. If you have a B1 business, please use the hashtag B1 when you talk about your business, when you talk about your family. If you have a B1 family, talk about your family. I search that hashtag and I like seeing stuff that's out there, and I will share it on my Instagram when I see it. All right, guys. So here's the deal. How many of you have been following? Give me a yes or no. How many of you have been following Ron Welp and Sirius, Bach, and Terry Cobb? How many of you have been following Sha'Carri Richardson and what's been going down with her and what happened in that race? Give me a yes or no if you saw what was going on with Sha'Carri. I'd like to know. I think most people are talking about it. I did a survey earlier. About half of you said you didn't even care, but I bet everybody kind of knows what happened. Her name is being spoken a lot, and there's a lot to talk about. Now, I'm interested, obviously, because I'm interested in things that are Black. I'm interested in sports. I'm also a big track and field fan. I used to be a track coach back in the day, and I used to coach the West Side Track Club in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, where Muhammad Ali's from, Breonna Taylor's from Louisville, my homeboy Greg Wilkins, who died in 1996, who was killed not too far from Breonna Taylor's house. So Louisville is a proud city for me, and I used to be a track coach down there in Louisville about 20 years ago, and it was the greatest experience of my life because I love being that neighborhood dad. I love being there for the kids in the community who need support, who need backup, and these are some wonderful children. Best experience of my life. So I was really curious about Sha'Carri. When Sha'Carri rose up when she was at LSU, I was checking her out. I was like, wow, this lady can really run. She's really good. She went pro. I knew that she was going to do it because she was that good. And I've seen her do extremely well on the circuit. Now, as you know, Sha'Carri was banned about a month before the Olympics for marijuana. Just to be honest with you, the whole story about like, oh, I did this to cope with the trauma of my biological mother dying. Honestly, I don't believe that. I mean, just to be honest with you, I'm not saying that she's lying or being silly or making things up, but sometimes you say stuff for the cameras. And honestly, a lot of people smoke weed. I think weed is just part of the culture now. That's just what it is. Let's just keep it 100. We ain't got to make excuses. Either you smoke or you don't. I really don't care, right? And we know that Sha'Carri kind of represents a certain culture. She represents that Offset, Cardi B culture, that hip hop culture, right? And you guys know it comes with good and bad, right? It comes with some stuff that you understand, some stuff that you don't. But she represents kind of a lifestyle, a way of thinking, right? But it's not all bad. In fact, a lot of it's not bad. She kind of has that FloJo thing going on with the long hair and the long nails and everything else. So Sha'Carri, here's what I'm getting at. This is where I'm going to get to the financial side. Sha'Carri has made herself into a brand. She's made herself into a brand. And if you understand branding and money, kind of the way people like me understand it, you see the money, you hear the cha-chings happening, every single day. I don't know if you guys know this, but there was a study done where they concluded that the amount of brand value, the media coverage that Sha'Carri Richardson received from, I think, July 1st through July 6th, if I'm not mistaken, it was a 5-day period. The media coverage she received during those 5 days was worth about $40 million. that literally her net worth or the value of her as a spokesperson for a corporate product went up $40 million when she was banned from the Olympics. Did y'all know that? Give me a yes or no if you knew that. When ShaCarri was told that she can't run in the Olympics, and the whole world started paying attention, and her name was mentioned, I think about 5 times more than Simone Biles at that time, that media coverage was worth $40 million. So as a result, you had companies like there was one company, I forgot the name of the company, but a cannabis company that reached out to ShaCarri, and they did this for publicity. They didn't expect her to take the deal. This cannabis company basically wrote her a public letter, Dr. Dabber, and they said, "We'll give you $250,000 to be a spokesperson for our." Sorry, it wasn't cannabis. My apologies. It was vape pens. Vape pens. You know, everybody likes to vape, right? I don't know if it's healthy or not. I just don't do none of that shit. I ain't putting substances in my body if I don't need them there. And so basically they offered her $250,000 to become their spokesperson for their vape pen, and they did it not because they thought ShaCarri was going to take the deal. They did it because they wanted the publicity, right? They to a 250,000. Honestly, I think would be a low number. I think ShaCarri was at a point where she could command over $1 million on endorsement deals. I bet her deal with Nike's got to be worth quite a bit of money. And she was performing like she's performing at that level, and she's worth, she's worth the money, right? She's that good. She's got that much swag that people like her that much, and I think she's a sweet, young, likable woman for the most part, right? Now, did she make a mistake in terms of making literally what I think is a cardinal sin of talking shit before you're about to race against Shelly Ann Fraser Price and this other lady, Elaine Thompson? Like I don't know the last part of her name, but Elaine Thompson is the name I knew her by. I think it's Hurrah. I think that's the last part of her name now. She's hyphenated, but whether she's hyphenated or not, she's whooping ass. She's running 10.5s in the 100-meter dash. Nobody's run 10.5 since Flojo. So did she make that mistake of getting a little too cocky? Yes, she absolutely did. There's no way around it. You can talk about it. You can say, oh, well, it's no big deal. No, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. And she did make a big mistake. I think that she got a little bit distracted. I think that all the hype can kind of get caught up. You can get caught up in that. It can become like a drug. And track and field is very, very, very competitive. And to get that hyped up in a sport that is that competitive, you're kind of asking for it at that point. You're asking for it because what happens is that if you get anything other than first place, people are going to clown you. There's already enough pressure that's already there. That you don't need to add pressure to yourself by talking things up. You just talk with your performance. But then again, that's kind of what it is, right? It's a culture, right? People talk a big game and whatever. And so here's the deal, though. The question I'm asking myself now is I would love to see what endorsement deal ShaCarri signed before the Olympics or before this race happened. I would be curious to know if she had people in her corner who was saying, "Look, girl, we gonna go get it while the getting's good. You are amazing. You're gonna be great for many, many years. But right now you're as hot as anybody, and so you better sign a deal. You better sign a big fat deal before things cool off." And I'd be curious to know about this deal with Nike. I saw her. I could have sworn she did a Beats by Dre commercial. I don't know. Give me a yes or no if you saw her do a Beats by Dre commercial. I heard somebody say she did a Beats by Dre commercial, and she's signed with a few different companies, and I'm hoping that she's signed enough, with guaranteed money that she's going to be okay. Because a couple things that really hurt ShaCarri in this race, in my view, are the race itself, right? Like getting like spanked on national TV, on global TV. I mean, the whole world was watching. Getting spanked like last place, not second, not third, not fifth, last, like, and not even last. Like it wasn't even last; it was dead last. Let's keep it 100. Let's stop pretending. Let's stop being nice. You ain't got to be nice. She knows she got last place. You're not hurting her feelings when you tell her that. She got dead last, right? I mean, you could have grabbed somebody out of the stands and said, "Hey, what would you like to try track and field for the first time ever?" And they would have gotten the same place that ShaCarri got, like literally, right? I could have gotten the same place ShaCarri got in that race. So something weird was going on. Something was going on. I told you guys some of my theories earlier. I'm not going to go into them, but I really wonder what's happening. Like, was there something going on with something doping? Like, what's happening to cause an athlete like her to go from 10-7 to 11-1. I used to run track, and it's really hard for your 100-meter dash time to drop 4/10 of a second. The only way that can happen is if you're completely out of shape, you're 10 years older, and you've been eating donuts and ho-hos for the entire time, and then you drop by 4/10 of a second. So I'm just really curious to know what's really going on. Now, can she come back, from this? I believe that she can. I think that she's going to be more determined than ever. I think that she's still, remember, she ran 10-7, right? And I think actually she cracked 10-6, if I'm not mistaken, the 10-6 something, which is a really damn good time. Like if she had run that time today against the Jamaicans, she would have gotten second place in that race. She would have gotten second place in that race. But the two things that hurt her big time in terms of her monetary potential are, one, the performance itself. Yes, it was one race, but it was the biggest race of her career. Let's not make no mistake about it. This race was as big as the Olympics. Two, the second thing that hurt her was that post-game interview, that post-race interview. And NBC plays into this, right? This reminds me of, how mad I was at media when the Biggie Pac thing happened. Media sometimes eggs you on. They gas you up. They push the agenda because they like those sound bites. And, so ShaCarri's walking off the track. She's 21 years old. She's still got a lot to learn. She's a kid, right? She's a baby. A lot, when you get my age, like 21-year-olds are babies. And she's walking off the track, and they catch her at an emotional time. And she says, just says some stuff that really wasn't very sportsmanlike. And if you watch her behavior very closely after the race, I analyzed that race. I told you I'm a big track and field fan. Even before all this, I just don't talk about it much, but I'm a big fan of track and field. I watched how she acted after she lost. Watch now. Here's what I want y'all to do. Now, again, you can lay out whatever evaluation, whatever judgment you have in terms of how an athlete's supposed to have. Maybe you think nobody owes nobody nothing. Maybe you think you can just pop your shit and just talk your shit and just do whatever. That's fine. Like, I'm not judging that, but I want you to compare something. I want you to go and watch Allison Felix and watch how Allison Felix reacts after a race when she loses. Allison Felix understands the game. Allison Felix knows that when the eyes are all on you, you're supposed to go and congratulate the winner, even if you are pissed. Noah Lyles, fastest 200-meter runner on earth, if you ask me. He got beat by Andre DeGrasse in the Olympics, but that was an upset. Noah Lyles, who runs with his brother Josephus, when Noah Lyles got beat, he got beat by a 17-year-old kid. This kid, I forgot his name, but he's a bad boy. And Noah Lyles went over to congratulate him. Like the thing is that what happens is when you're talking about getting these multi-million-dollar endorsement deals, it becomes about more than just your performance on the field or on the court. It becomes about character. It's character. And I know that there are people out here who just think you're supposed to just shit all over your opponents and be mean to everybody, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. I'm gonna tell you what happens when it comes to character. When people measure your character, they don't just look at how you react when you win. They look at, like, well, how do you take it when you lose? How do you react when you lose? Because that's really that's the test, right? And so if you watch her race afterward, ShaCarri walks right off the track, doesn't congratulate the winner, doesn't hug any of the women on the track with her, does nothing, walks right off the track. The other women, almost every single woman on that track hugged the winner. Go watch the end of that race. I think there's 8 women. Let's say there's 9 women in the race. I want to say I saw 6 or 7 hugs where 6 or 7 women went up. Now, they're all pissed. They're all like, damn, like I'm kind of mad I didn't get to win today. Shirley Ann Fraser-Price used to be the fastest woman in the world, so her throne got taken by Lane Thompson. Hurrah, right? But they all went up to make sure that on the camera they were seen congratulating the winner. ShaCarri bolts off to the right and walks over, and then NBC catches her, and she does the interview, and that's when she gets super defensive, right? That's when she's like, you know what I can do? You know what I'm capable of? It was one race. I'll be back. I'm not going nowhere. Talk all the shit you want to, but I got this. I'm the fastest one in this game. Right? And I really think that is going to be what really hurts her in terms of the endorsements, because I think that there are people that are going to cheer that on. They're going to cheer on no matter what, and they should, right? I want to see her do well. She's 21 years old. She probably made a mistake, but I also think that there are going to be a lot of people I think that one little interview probably cost her at least a couple $1 million. That's my point. That one interview probably cost her a couple million, because I think that she could have walked away and said, I hurt my calf muscle was aching today, and that's why I couldn't run full speed. Like, I think she could have said that, honestly, because I know she scratched the 200 meters. She didn't even try in the 200. Um, but I really think that she could have walked away and still kind of had some things intact. I think that she might have done some damage, not just with the performance, but with the reaction to the performance. Right. So I'm going to be real curious to see how this happens. Right. Because because what I'm seeing is a very divided reaction amongst the public. When I polled intelligent Black people, my Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, and I polled you guys on Twitter. I like to run polls because I'm a statistician. I like data and information and facts and stuff. And one of the things I found that was really fascinating is that the majority of the majority of the intelligent Black people, people in the B1 community, kind of felt like she did a little bit too much talking. I don't let me know if you agree with that assessment, that maybe if ShaCarri was your daughter, you would have said, hey, there's my Twitter, by the way, if you want to follow me on Twitter, that maybe, you would have said, look, you got to show grace. You have to show class, right? And there's nothing wrong with saying that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And let's see, Mr. Johnson says, clearly she has no mentors. I don't know. I mean, I would imagine a young lady that's worth millions of dollars would have some older people around her that would advise her. I've seen her react to things in a way where I could tell that someone had coached her on what to say, and I respect that. And I could tell that I said, okay, her answers are good, because there are things that she's clearly managing and maybe even covering a little bit, right? Like for example, I go back to that statement when she said, I smoked the marijuana to cope with with finding out about the death of my biological mother. Now, how many of you, give me a yes or no, if your mother died tomorrow, how many of you would refer to your mother as your biological mother? Like, how many of you would call her your biological mother, or would you just call her your mother? Right? Would you call her your biological mother or your mother? Well, when you say your biological mother, it's like me. I say my biological father because I have two fathers. My biological father did not raise me. My biological father got caught up in the drugs and went to prison and all this other stuff. I had a father that raised me in the house, right? So I had to make that distinction. I would say, so when my biological father died, I told my wife, I said, hey, I found out my biological father died. And I found out about 6 months after he died because he and I did not have a relationship. So when she said, I smoked marijuana to cope with finding out about the death of my biological mother, I said, oh, I get that. I know that language because that's my story to some extent. I also found out about my biological father died. Now, if my father had died, if my mother had died, I wouldn't have found out. I would have just known because I would have got a call that day. I'd be at the funeral. I'd be making the arrangements, right? If my mother or father died, I wouldn't refer to them as my biological mother, biological father. I just say my mother or my father died, right? So that right there told me that there's a story there in terms of the parents. When you're raised by your grandma and your aunt, that makes me wonder, okay, as a Black man, my first question is, okay, where's your daddy at? What's going on with the daddy? You look on the internet, there's nothing out there about the daddy anywhere that I've seen. I haven't seen anything about the father. If you ask about the mama, there's nothing out there about the mother. It's just sort of this mysterious statement. She smoked weed to cope with the death of her biological mother, and I'm just telling you the truth. I kind of think that weed is just out there, and cannabis is not stigmatized like it used to be. If you remember, what was it, Michael Phelps? They had a picture of him. He's a swimmer that's won a whole bunch of gold medals and stuff in swimming, and they saw a pic. The media revealed a picture of him in college smoking a bong, and that became a big deal. So he lost a lot of endorsement deals because of that. I think there was another athlete that got caught smoking marijuana. I forgot who it was, but that was a big deal, right? They wanted to get away from that person, but now marijuana has been decriminalized. It's not stigmatized. It's not a big deal. So for her to have to sort of come up with an excuse for why she was smoking weed, I don't believe that. I believe that maybe she just smokes. Like I know a lot of people that smoke. I mean, it's kind of like honestly, she represents kind of hip hop culture, hip hop / hood culture. That's why a lot of rappers are following her and stuff like that, and they're all repping for her. And weed is a big part of that, right? I kind of wish it wasn't, especially the harder drugs. Like I hate when I see young people getting hooked on the harder drugs and rappers promoting those drugs, because I don't think people honestly talk about the long-term implications of drugs. I grew up in the drug era. I saw what happens when people get hooked on drugs at 18, 19 years old, and their kids grow up and their kids hate them, and you're a terrible parent because you're not there for your parents, or there for your kids because you're there for the drugs, right? So I'm not a fan of drugs. I think drugs have destroyed the Black community. I believe drugs are very harmful to Black people. If I could find every rapper and every corporation that's paying them to promote drug use in the Black community to young people, I would literally find those people and beat their ass on the street and choke them, because I have seen what crack did to a whole generation of Black people. I saw how many people were killed from drugs, how many people got hooked on drugs, how many people went to prison for drugs. So the fact that they even allow corporations to fund rappers to promote heavy drugs to young people before they really understand the implications of that choice is terrible. You can't get those brain cells back. You can't get, when you done messed up your youth, you can't get some of that back. When you get 80 years in prison because of something you did while you were on a drug binge, you can't get that time back. But see, when I talk about that, people think I'm old fashioned and whatever. Well, okay, fine, keep talking like that. And then next thing you know, I'm getting letters from prison from some guy, some poor son of a bitch who never had anybody tell him this when he was young, but now it's too late. Now the white man done got you. Now he done locked you up and threw away the key. So I really think that for Black folks that really care about our kids, you have to impose yourself into the conversation. If you want to know why I sometimes sound like a self-righteous, asshole, is because I'm imposing myself in the conversation about our young people. I'm stepping in and saying, I don't need your permission for me to talk about what's happening with our young people, because a father doesn't have to ask permission. That is called masculine leadership. I'm stepping in and I'm speaking on ShaCarri without asking for anybody's permission to give my assessment of what I'm seeing. I'm literally sharing that point of view for anybody that can benefit from the information. And I'm going to tell you the truth without sort of any limitation. Because what I really see right now is I see a young lady who is being hit with a lot. She's got a ton of talent. I don't think that she understands the limitations of her talent. I think that media, I think that some of the toxic aspects of hip hop culture will gas you up and have you out here spending more time making TikTok videos and talking shit with rappers and going to the Grammys than actually spending time on the track working on what you're supposed to be great at. You're supposed to be an athlete first. Like, getting across that finish line first has to be your top priority, and everything else has to take a back seat to that. And I think at 21 years old, you have to have somebody that's literally going to beat you upside the head and ground you, because it's easy to get carried away at that stage. So in terms of wealth and money, track and field athletes don't make that much money. I think that for the amount of talent that they have, they don't make as much as they should. ShaCarri probably has more opportunities than most. I believe that once she gets back, into her regular training routine, I believe she's going to come back with a vengeance. I think she's going to start running those 10.8s and those 10.7s like we're used to, maybe even a 10.6. I don't think she'll run a 10.5. 10.5 is really hard to do, but then again, anything's possible. But right now, the Jamaican women are the queens. And I think that when you're talking about building a brand, what happens with ShaCarri, in my view, is that the things she does off the track are just as important, if not more important, than what she does on the track. So that means before the race, stop talking shit. Like, seriously, before the race, be humble, give props to your opponents, talk about how wonderful it is to see them win, how much you congratulate them when they do well. And then after the race, same thing. Just say, hey, first thing you say is, hey, these ladies are amazing. It was so awesome to compete against them. I have so much respect for the Jamaican women, and let the world tell you how great you are. You don't have to tell. See, here's the thing I would probably tell ShaCarri if she was my daughter. She's not my daughter, but I'm going to impose myself in the conversation here. I would say, look, we know you're fast. We know you're great. We know you're amazing. You don't have to tell us that you're great. We're going to tell you how great you are. Right. And this is a note for young people. Like, if you get in that habit of wanting to tell everybody how good you are, just know, like, if you're really good, other people will tell you that. Right. And the more humble you are, the more they're going to say, no, you're amazing. You're the best. Seriously, think about this. Right. Like, for example, I'm kind of a little bit like, maybe in finance for some people, I'm kind of like maybe the Sha'Carri Richardson of finance. No, I'm gonna say I'm the Flojo of finance. I don't know if I want to be the Sha'Carri Richardson. I ain't gonna lie, because I don't want to get last place. But then again, sometimes in my life I have gotten last place. So maybe for what ShaCarri or a Flojo is in track, some people see me that way in finance. I've had people meet me and start crying. I've had people meet me and be willing to buy me food and want me to meet their family, and wanting, women wanting to chase me down, because there's some women out there that are what they call sapiosexuals. Like, they literally find intelligent men to be really attractive. I've seen all of this, right? I've gotten accolades all over the planet. I went to Guyana, a country I'd never been to before, and there was a guy who saw me do a video on Instagram. He lived in Guyana. He found my house and came to my house. I kid you not. Like this. So these are some of the weird experiences that I've had. And so here's what happens, right? When you're good at something, the world will recognize you, right? If you just pop your shit and do your thing, like do all the talking you want, but talk with your actions, talk with your greatness, talk with the skill that you have, show people how good you are at what you do. And then what will happen is the world is going to give you all the accolades you need. They are, and they're going to give you even more accolades if you understand that greatness, true greatness. Pay attention now. True greatness doesn't come from saying I'm better than all of y'all, right? True greatness, it doesn't come from me saying I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, I'm better than you. No, true greatness comes from me saying, yeah, I will acknowledge that I'm a great man, and we can all be great together. I want all of us to ride the mountaintop of greatness together as a team. I want you to be great. I found my potential. I found my gift. I'm letting my light shine. Now I want your light to shine right next to me, so we can all be out here shining. And then we can talk a lot of shit and we can brag, not about the things we're going to do. We can talk about that, but we can also talk about the things that we've done, because we're proving with things with our actions and not just with our words. Right. And so I think that with track and field, my belief, honestly, is that with ShaCarri, I think that it was a miscalculation. I think that whoever is advising her on business deals is probably sitting down and having a talk with her about how to kind of handle this PR thing. I noticed in her interview, after she gave the first really bad interview, she came back and seemed to want to be trying to sort of clean it up. And that told me that somebody else had already spoken to her about it. And I think that that's good. I think she's going to come back and have a great performance, sometimes maybe on the European circuit or something like that. I think that she's great for track and field, because I haven't seen this many people talking about track in quite a while. And I think she's going to have a good career. So overall, what do I think in terms of her money? I think she's going to make millions of dollars. I think she's still endorsement worthy. I think a lot of people, though, are going to be concerned about this performance, because they're kind of looking at it like, how did you go from 10.6 to 11.1? That's a pretty steep decline in speed, and I'd like to know what the explanation is. So that's it. So you're right, Marie. Etiquette really is everything, and I agree with Woodshop. Actions speak louder than words. And Erica King is shouting out the Jamaican flag. And let me tell you about those Jamaican sprinters. Goddamn, the Jamaicans are the one group of people, when they step on the track, the Americans better get scared, because the Jamaican when before the Jamaican women started dominating track and field, it was the Jamaican men who dominated. They had Usain Bolt and another brother, I forgot his name, they called him the Beast, Johan Blake. And these guys would just kick the Americans' asses. And the Americans had some really fast sprinters, Tyson Gay and some other really fast guys, Justin Gatlin. And they didn't know what to do with the Jamaicans, because they had that guy Usain Bolt in the finish line. And I don't know what they got in the water down in Jamaica, but I want to drink some of that, because I'm telling you, they have some amazing athletes. And more importantly, I really have a lot of admiration for the Jamaican culture, because my Jamaican friends tend to be the smartest people that I know also. And so shout out to Jamaica. I love Jamaica. And maybe I'm biased, because my wife, I never mentioned this, but my wife, our kids in the house are actually half Jamaican. Their father is a good Jamaican man, and we actually work together and raise the kids as a village. And so I have a lot of respect for the people of Jamaica. And I really think that if you're going to talk about what happened with ShaCarri in racial terms, right? I heard people say, well, y'all always trying to put a black woman down. And why y'all always talking bad about a black woman, or black woman, black woman, black woman? And people forget about one simple fact, that there were, with all the attention you're focusing on ShaCarri, that remember, there were 8 other women on the track, 8 other black women on that track, not named ShaCarri Richardson. There were 8 other black women on that track, not named ShaCarri Richardson. There was not a white woman on that track. There was not an Asian woman on that track. There was all black women on that track. So when you are trying to elevate ShaCarri, I mean, think about this. I mean, this is insulting as shit. They didn't even interview the lady who won the race. Did y'all notice that? They interviewed ShaCarri. They didn't even interview Elaine Thompson-Herah, who literally ran the second fastest time since Flojo. Nobody has run that fast in 30 motherfucking years. No one has run that fast since 1988. Do y'all understand how significant that is? or y'all only caught up in what, in the fact that, ShaCarri didn't do well, and that makes you sad. Like, seriously. So I personally think, we probably owe those black women from Jamaica an apology. And when they walked by the camera and they were smirking, I don't know if it was coincidental or not, but I saw Shelly Ann Fraser Price. Did y'all see that? She walked by and she kind of had this little smirk on her face, and she saw ShaCarri getting all defensive and explaining like, I'm still the best. You can talk all the shit you want to, whatever. Shelly Ann Fraser Price just walked by and kind of smiled. And then when they asked Elaine Thompson, they said, "So what do you think about Sha'Carri Richardson getting last place?" She said, "I have no comment on that." And then she moved to the next question. She said, "No comment," and moved on. See, so I personally think that if I'm ShaCarri, you know what I do? I go make friends with those older Jamaican women who can help me understand what it's like to be in the public eye, who can teach me a little bit about. I know that we think humility is old fashioned, but no, humility is literally that's the vaccine that keeps you from being an asshole. If you get infected with asshole-itis, you need the vaccine. The vaccine is called humility, and I encourage everybody to go get the shot because ain't nothing wrong with being humble. When you're out here bragging and bragging and bragging about how great you are, that means at least one of two things. It either means that you are not as great as you say you are. You haven't proven it, so all you can do is talk, because we get a lot of fast talking Negroes who tell you all day how great they are but can't prove it. Or you or your self-esteem is not intact. You need to keep bragging because maybe deep down inside you feel that you're inadequate. So in order for you to feel adequate, you have to start making other people feel bad. And there's nothing productive in this world about being a big asshole. But then again, though, maybe I need to preach that to myself, because there's some days where my wife will come in and say, "Boyce, you sound like an asshole right now. Stop that." Right. So we all have a little bit we've all been infected with assholeitis virus, and all of us need the vaccine. So that's the one shot I'm going to tell you, everybody, to go get, because I think that makes you a better human being. And when I am, thinking in my right mind, that's the direction I try to take things. Because if you're great, believe me, if you're great and your performance is great, the world will tell you that you're great. You don't need to tell the world how good you are unless you're not really good. Okay. So anyway, that's it, guys. That's my 2 cents. God bless all of you. I wish you all the very, very best. Do me a favor, if you want to actually follow this podcast on audio, I'm on Spotify and Apple and everything else. So you can actually go to the drboycebreakdown.com. The URL is right there on the screen, or you can look up the Dr. Boyce Breakdown on Spotify. And also, one more thing I'll share with you guys. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. So if you want to get involved in intelligent conversations, feel free to go to my Instagram, which is The Real Boyce Watkins. And that's it, guys. So hit the thumbs up button on your way out, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Love you. Peace.